Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, Soviet Union, now St. Petersburg, Russia. He was the youngest of Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin's 3 children. 2 brothers died before Putin was born. Young Putin cherished reading the writings of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and Lenin in his spare time. Putin's father served as a conscript in the Soviet Navy's submarine fleet in the early 1930s, while his mother worked in a factory. While attending law school in Leningrad, Russia, Vladimir Putin was compelled to join the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, CPSU. His legal degree focused on the most favored nation trading principle in international law. Putin met Anatoly Sobchak, an assistant professor who taught business law at St. Petersburg University and later became the co-author of the Russian Constitution. Putin will be influential in Sobchak's career in St. Petersburg and then influential in his own career in Moscow. Leadership and politics. Vladimir Putin, a former KGB agent, who later became provost of Leningrad State University, was elected as St. Petersburg's first deputy mayor. He left active KGB service in 1990 with the rank of lieutenant colonel and returned to Russia. By the time 1994 rolled around, he had reached the post of first vice mayor after quickly earning Sobchak's confidence and building a reputation for getting things done. As the Kremlin's chief administrator since 1996, Putin joined Pavel Borodin's group. As Putin rose through the administrative ranks, he grew close to fellow Leningrader Anatoly Chubais. In 1998, Putin was chosen to lead the Federal Security Service, which was the country's equivalent of the KGB. Although he was essentially unknown, Putin's popularity skyrocketed once he began a well-planned military campaign against Chechen separatists. The Russian people, worn out by the years of Yeltsin's unpredictable actions, admired Putin's composure and decisiveness under duress. Unity, a new political force, won the December parliamentary elections thanks to Putin's backing. First term as president. On December 31, 1999, Yeltsin abruptly announced his retirement and appointed Putin as interim president. The austere and restrained Putin comfortably won the March 2000 elections with almost 53% of the vote, promising to restore a weaker Russia. As president, he worked to eradicate corruption and establish a tightly controlled market economy. Putin proclaimed the Chechen conflict over in 2002, but casualties were still high. He quickly restored control of Russia's 89 regions and republics, dividing them into new federal districts. Putin also denied regional governors the right to sit in Russia's Federation Council, the country's upper house of parliament. Putin was an outspoken opponent of US President George W. Bush's decision to withdraw from the 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty in 2001. In 2002 to 2003, Putin joined German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder and French President Jacques Chirac in rejecting US efforts to overthrow Saddam Hussein by force.
Vladimir Putin grew up in the aftermath of the Second World War. In 1945, the US, the UK and the Soviet Union met to shape the new world. 7 years on, he was born in what was then Leningrad and is now St. Petersburg. By the 70s, Putin had studied law and then joined the Russian Secret Service, the KGB. At this time, the Soviet Union's influence reached across the communist nations of Eastern Europe. And in the 80s, Putin was posted to Dresden in East Germany. From there, he witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of communism. This was a visceral example of people power. To Putin, though, the demise of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. And while that demise was negotiated, Putin was heading home to find a place for himself in the new Russia. Russia's president in the 90s, Boris Yeltsin, would help him do that. He made Putin head of the security services. Then Putin was elected prime minister. Then, in 1999, Yeltsin resigned. Putin was president. And his way of operating was clear from the start.
Tightening the grip over media was one of the first things that he did. And also the lack of genuine opposition, because his critics either have been in exile or dead or are facing prosecution.
Putin's focus on his own power and wealth was relentless. By 2008, when his 2 terms were up, Dmitry Medvedev replaced him as president. But Putin became prime minister, and everyone knew who was in charge. By 2012, he was back as president again. And Putin's indifference to democracy is matched by his view of sovereignty.
Soon after Medvedev's win in the March 2008 presidential election, Putin became head of the United Russia Party. The nomination was accepted the next day by the Russia's parliament, and he was appointed prime minister hours later. Putin has been the Kremlin's dominating personality, as well as Moscow's most powerful figure for most of the last 8 years. Second term as president. While some thought that Medvedev would run for a second term, he said in September 2011 that he and Putin will switch posts if United Russia won the election. Widespread violations in the December 2011 legislative elections sparked a surge of popular outrage, and Putin faced a surprisingly powerful opposition movement in the presidential contest. Putin, on the other hand, was elected to a third term as Russia's president on March 4, 2012. Putin resigned as chairman of United Russia before his inauguration, ceding control of the party to Medvedev. He was inaugurated as president on May 7, 2012, and one of his first acts as president was to appoint Medvedev as prime minister. Putin's first year back in office as president was characterized by a largely successful effort to stifle the protest movement. Opposition leaders were jailed, and non-governmental organizations that received funding from abroad were labeled as foreign agents. Tensions with the United States flared in June 2013, when U.S. National Security Agency NSA contractor Edward Snowden sought refuge in Russia after revealing the existence of a number of secret NSA programs. Snowden was allowed to remain in Russia on the condition that, in the words of Putin, he stopped bringing harm to our American partners. The alleged USA-Russia campaign link. A series of high-profile cyber operations attacked the Democratic Party and its presidential contender, Hillary Clinton, in the months leading up to the 2016 US presidential election. Computer security experts linked these intrusions to Russian intelligence services, and WikiLeaks published thousands of private emails in July 2016. Within this, the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States launched an investigation into Russian efforts to influence the presidential election. It was later disclosed that this inquiry was also looking into any links between those efforts and the campaign of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. Trump joked that Russia published the leaked emails because Putin likes me, and then asked Russia to discover Clinton's 30,000 missing emails. Despite these assertions, Trump has consistently denied the prospect that Putin was seeking to impact the election in his favor. Following Trump's surprise victory in November 2016, fresh focus was placed on cyber attacks and potential coordination between Trump's campaign staff and Russia. US intelligence services assessed that Putin directed a multifaceted operation to influence the election and damage trust in American democratic processes. US President Barack Obama slapped economic sanctions on Russian intelligence services and dismissed hundreds of suspected Russian operatives, but President-elect Donald Trump has continued to deny US intelligence agencies' findings. Eternal power. In January 2020, Putin revealed his plan to amend the Russian constitution to eliminate term limitations for presidents, allowing him to continue in power eternally. Medvedev resigned as prime minister immediately. claiming that a new administration would provide Putin the opportunity to make the decisions he has to make. The proposed constitutional changes were quickly passed by the Russian legislature, but Putin called a public vote on the issue, which detractors called political theater. The voting was supposed to take place in April, but it was moved to July owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. Unsurprisingly, the outcome was a resounding endorsement of Putin's program, but opposition parties pointed out that there was no impartial election monitoring. The Russia-Ukraine banter. Putin authorized a significant Russian military buildup near the Ukrainian border in late 2021. Additional Russian units were also sent to Belarus, reportedly to participate in joint military drills with the Belarusian military. Concerns about what seemed to be an impending Russian invasion were expressed by Western nations, but Putin denied having such preparations. Up to 190,000 Russian soldiers were ready to invade Ukraine by February 2022 from advanced bases in Russia. The Crimean Peninsula under the Russian control, Belarus, and separatist region of Transnistria in Moldova, which Russia supports. Additionally, under the pretense of previously scheduled naval drills, amphibious battalions were sent to the Black Sea. Putin essentially nullified the 2015 Minsk Peace Accord on February 21st when he acknowledged the independence of the self-declared People's Republics of Donetsk and then Luhansk. Explosions could be heard in places all throughout Ukraine as soon as Putin declared the start of a special military operation on February 24th in the early morning hours. When the unprovoked attack occurred, Western leaders denounced it and pledged to impose rapid and severe penalties against Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that his nation will defend itself.